Ask the questions. So I hope you have some good questions for Myungha, and I just raise your hand and I'm going to bring the microphone to you and you can ask your question, okay? So the brave first person and ask the first question. Okay, so...
Well, hi, I'm Elizabeth. I know most of you guys are, most of the people here are foreign, but since I and Youngha both speak Korean, so I would like to ask him the question in Korean. I'll translate afterwards.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we have a translator here.
안녕하세요. 저는 지금 그 한국외대 정치외교학과 3학년인 재은진이라고 하는데요. 제가 정치학을 공부한 학생이지만 제가 요즘에 이제 굉장히 최근 들어서 그 시에 대한 열정이 폭발하고 있어요. 그래서 제가 막 요즘에 막 그 열정이 폭발해서 막 시를 막 쓰고 있는데 사실 제가 그 시를 써서 김영하 선생님한테 보여드리고 싶어요. 근데 제가 오늘 프린트를 해서 가져오면은 만약에 보시고 마음에 안 드시면은 그냥 버리셔도 돼요. 근데 만약에 마음에 들 수 있잖아요. 김영하 소설가님 읽으셨을 때. 그럴 때 저는 피드백을 좀 받고 싶은데 제가 그래서 생각한 거는 제가 그 페이스북에 그 official 페이지가 있잖아요. 거기에 메시지로 제가 보내드리고 싶어요. 그래서 읽어보시고 마음에 안 드시면 답장 안 해주셔도 돼요. 근데 보시고 마음에 드시면은 혹시 그 피드백 조금 해주실 수 있는지 여쭤보고 싶어요.
Yeah, in English, please.
So this is basically what I said. Well, I'm a student studying political science at a university here in Seoul. But recently I've been very passionate about writing poems. So I've been writing my own poems, and I would like to get some feedback from Youngha on my poems. So I was planning on bringing my poetry works here, but I decided to send in a Facebook message. So if he doesn't like any of my poems, he doesn't have to answer me, or he doesn't have to get back to me. But I basically asked him for his feedback.
Okay. So I don't think it's a good idea because I'm not a poet, and once I wrote a few poems, I showed them to my poet friends, and they told me just to throw them away and don't show them anybody. So I never. So since then, I never write poems. So I think showing your poems to me is not a good idea. So yeah. So next question.
Right here. I'm Charles Montgomery from Seoul University. As I was listening to Chris ask her excellent series of questions, I think Barry at the end of this, you should have a special round of applause for Chris, as moderator. She talked about a story that I believe hasn't been translated yet, that she said was one of the funniest stories that she'd ever read, and it made me think of stories like Pager and Whatever Happened to the Guy in the Elevator, and it occurred to me that you actually have a rather wickedly good line in humor. And obviously, we've all seen this here today, you're a very funny person. Do you have any thoughts of getting back towards humor as a sort of regular tactic in your writing?
No, I cannot say that is my tactic. So that is my human nature. It's a natural reflection of my the good side of my human nature. So when I am good and when I feel good, so yeah, sometimes sense of humor and blah blah, so good things. But when I feel bad, so my wife suffered from so my bad side of human nature. So I tried not to write anything. So when I feel bad, so just I try to sleep and but yeah, I write so novels and short stories when I feel good. So we can find the good sense of humor is blah blah blah. So, not tactic. So, yeah. Yeah, wow. So many hands.
Good afternoon. How are you able to do your research about sociopaths?
Sociopath. A psychopath or a sociopath. So your question is how I do research. Oh yeah. So I'm wondering. So actually, I'm not that interested in the sociopaths specifically. So, but I'm really interested why people kill other people. So that's my long time subject. So even when I was very young child, so I was really fascinated by the so murder and some kind of killing, so some incidents, bad incidents. So that's my so but not that specifically so interested in the sociopaths. So are you interested in sociopaths? Yeah.
I was a psychologist and I worked with
Yeah.
But I thought that the character in this book, I have the right to destroy myself, very much was a sociopath. He had the mind of it. So I was actually quite impressed with how well you captured the mind of a sociopath. And, well, you seem like a pretty nice guy. You know how to show, but where did you find all this?
Yeah, I told you this is avatar of my. So my real ego is the kind of sociopath. Yeah, I have the right to destroy myself. So so I got the point. So I haven't thought the protagonist of the novel is a sociopath. I just thought him as a kind of insane person or 과대망상? 과대망상은 뭐라고 하죠? 예? over 과대망상증? Megalomanian artist. So insane person. So, but but you might be right. So he can be a sociopath or psychopath. You're welcome.
Hi, Mr. Kim. Thank you for speaking to us today. I just have two really short, simple questions. The first is, why do you write, and what do you think is the ultimate purpose of writing? The second question is, when you hit writer's block, is there any particular thing you do to resolve that? 그래서 글을 쓰다가 이제 더 이상 아이디어가 안 나오거나 그럴 때.
Writer's block?
예.
대해서?
예.
What was the first question?
Why do you write, and what do you think is the ultimate purpose of writing?
To make money. To make a living. When I was in Iowa, when I was in Iowa University in 2003, so I stayed in a hotel, the guest house of the university, with 30 other writers from all over the world, and so at that time, so I really hated the seminar of the Iowa University programs like why I write or blah blah something like that. So we all writers in the residency programs, we kept talking. Oh, we hate the kind of subject why I write and why what you want to write blah blah blah. So because the question is simple, but the answer might be very long, and that can be, it takes all my life. It's not easy to answer. So I can say, writing the novels and writing the stories itself is finding the answers of the why I write. I don't know. I just feel like I had to write something about the killers, something about the sociopaths, and something about the guy, something about the monk. All my life is can be answered to find why I write. And the second question is,
how do you resolve writer's block?
Writer's block? I don't know. I don't know the word writer's block. Yeah, I know the meaning, but in my dictionaries there is no word writer's block. So I'm always writing, so just kidding. Sorry. So yes, I sometimes suffer from the writer's block, and sometimes I feel bad. So sometimes I feel I cannot write anymore. So sometimes I feel, but there is no I don't know how I escape from the writer's block. Just I write on my desk. So a colleague of mine, so he's a good writer. So he always one day he told me, writing is not done by hands. So writing is done by hips. So I think it's right. So always I write, always I sit on my desk and try to write something. And sometimes one sentence can make me go out of the writer's block or
I recently read your story, 옥수수하나, The Corn and I, a short story, a fantastic piece, great piece. In the story there comes a character who actually hit the writer's block for a while, and then at a New York office somewhere, he hits just much opposite the writer's block and just writes as if possessed, completely just hand on the keyboard the whole. And as I was reading it, I was wondering what your writing process would be. Was it any similar to that? And subsequently, how long did you take to write that piece, first revision, and how many subsequent revisions you took to get there? And in general, what was it like to write that piece?
Can you say that again, the last sentence?
What was it like to write the whole thing? What's your experience? 그 작품을 썼을 때요.
네.
어떤 느낌이라면 좀 너무 쉽긴 한데.
Okay. In the short story you mentioned, 옥수수하나, corn and I. So in the the short story, in the story, so the protagonist went to New York City, and he met a very beautiful woman, and they had the crazy sex, and so day after day, and he write some novels. So I was happy to when I wrote that short story, because I like that kind of insane person, insane personality, and he kept having sex with a beautiful woman, and he tried to write very long novel like Ulysses. So writing Ulysses and having sex, Ulysses and having sex, and it was funny. So my wife asked, so what kind of things are you writing now? Are you working on? So don't say any words. So I just walked fast at that time. So I was happy. So in the New York City. So when I was in New York City, so I was a little bit blue. So New York City is very, busy, and people, so New Yorkers are very hostile and very, so people. So I was a bit upset, and so some blue, and but writing that short story made me, feel good, and feel something, energetic. So, and that was my only short stories I wrote in New York City. So, it's good.
Hi. I'm curious what other Korean writers inspire you.
Other Korean writers inspired me. So I was studying Korean literature.
Yes.
Really? Yeah, so my hero is Lee-sang. So he. Are you familiar with Lee-sang? Everybody? Yeah. Yeah. So when I was a high school student, so I was really fascinated by Lee-sang's poems and Lee-sang's lifestyle. So, and he lived with Kiseng and other the women, and he drank too much, and blah blah blah, and Lee-sang was my hero, and other Korean writers like Hwang Sun-won and Kim Seung-ho, they were my heroes, and they are my heroes now too. So it was my really honor to get the Lee-sang literary prize and the Hwang Sun-won literary prize, because they were the heroes when I was young. So are you happy with that?
Hi, I was reading Your Republic is Calling You, and on the subway one day, and I was reading the passage where kimyoungha is on the subway, and I found it an incredibly meditative experience, not just because I was on a subway, but because you put a lot of emphasis on the awkwardness of being in a subway. It's a very public place, but it's very enclosed. You're at an awkward distance from the people across from you, and it was really, I don't know, it was just something that was really good for me to read, because coming from the United States, I'm not used to living in a city, being around so many people, and it's especially strange to be in a place where you can't understand the language. And So my question is, do you have any recommendations for things that are good to read while you're on a subway?
지하철에서 할 수 있는 일? 읽을 수 있는 책. The materials for subway hopping. My novels. I don't know. I have no idea. I haven't thought about it. So Charles. So you know the Korean short story collections.
Oh yeah. Jimundong, Asia Publishers, or coming out the Dalkey Press, all short novellas. Asia Publishers bilingual, and bios of authors, short, just like Subways too. If you don't like it, get off it, get on the next one.
Yeah, it's a good choice. The next question. Okay.
I'm from Seoul University. I don't think you're reading books you wrote. All the books you wrote. So what is the standard to put books for sale?
Korean, please. Yeah.
책을 다 쓴 거를 다 출판하려고 내놓지 않잖아요.
책을 쓴 걸 다 출판하지 않는다고요?
출판 다 하시나요?
아니, 질문을 잘 못 알아들었어요.
I think you will try to sell all the books you wrote at the same time. So what is the first standard to choose books for sale?
So actually that is not my the choice. My editor decide what to publish and what not to publish. So I just write novels and I just send it to them and they told me, oh no, this is not good. So I have to write, so other things, yeah.
Hi, I actually really like your book, your debut book, I Have a Right to Destroy Myself. So I think that was your first book. It was written in your maybe like mid or late 20s. And when I was reading the book, actually the psychologist asked you that she thought the protagonist of the book was kind of like psychopath or sociopath, but you didn't agree with her but I also feel the same way because I was kind of thinking maybe the protagonist of the I Have a Right to Destroy Myself was kind of more like a person who has humanitarian nature because he tries to help some people having trouble with life. So I think the general feeling I got from your book, I Have a Right to Destroy Myself, was like you're kind of like a skeptic and you have very nihilistic view about life. So do you think you're also kind of like a very skeptic toward life? And because like many years have passed since the first book, your change of the view about life have changed or something?
So are you asking me,
So
if I have changed since I wrote the first novel?
Yeah, and also you consider yourself to be a skeptic or like a nihilist about life.
Yes, I wrote this I Have the Right to Destroy Myself when I was when I was 26 years old. So back then I was full of libido and testosterone and other hormones. So all my works that I wrote in my 20s, so all the sex and so violence and killing the mothers. So, but after the success of this novel, so I could get married to a woman. So I had changed. Totally changed. So I felt relieved. Relieved. And so my stories and my novels, so have changed so much. So yeah, that's natural. Yeah. So I proposed, make a proposal. When I made a proposal to my wife, so and my wife agreed to
Accept the proposal.
Yeah, she accepted my proposal, and she told her parents, "Oh, so mommy and daddy, I will get married to a novelist." So her parents asked her, "Oh, so one novel, so you write." So my wife told he wrote only one novel, and the title is "I Have the Right to Destroy Myself." So we had some troubles. Yeah, but I made it at last. Yeah.
Okay, hello. I have a question. Like you said, like when you write a novel, then you make or you build your world, and then like you live with them. And then like my question is, after publishing it, like what do you do? Like what do you do to your world? I mean, like do you make your world, or do you destroy it, or I mean you have to do you suffer the after effects? I mean, like you have to write the next novel. So like what do you do after publishing? Yeah.
I try to forget the novel that I wrote, that I published. So because I have to move on to next novel. So what's interesting is ideas about the novels are popping up. So when I write other novels, so when I write novels, the other ideas is popping up. So very 활발하게. Yeah. So after publishing it, so I move on to another novels that I want to write. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Moanasu. I have a question. I mean, more like recently you have translated The Great Gatsby, the Scott Fitzgerald work in English into Korean. I just wonder, how do you figure out his work, The Great Gatsby? And then just want to know, because Scott Fitzgerald had a very difficult personal life. So with many women, he is a kind of alcoholic, and he had a very difficult trauma with his wife, because his wife is a little bit psychopath. So he suffered from the mental illness, and she suffered from the mental illness. And some of the books you have written, also I found some quite inner struggle things a lot. And then, so I want to know, what is your real life outside of your novel? And then, do you admire some kind of that kind of people, like Gatsby, yeah. Because sometimes the writers have similar experience, so that they pick up from their real experience into their writing. So I really wonder, are you really 모범생 kind of skyline, or a little bit outside of standard path?
So do you want to my real life? Real life?
I mean, do you have that kind of similar kind of experience? How do you
similar experience to the Fitzgerald the life.
I don't think you have exactly similar life, but somewhat I think you like the Great Gatsby's work, right? So I just want to know, you have a similar kind of feeling, kind of desire that you want to live as like him or?
No, I don't have that kind of desire, and so yeah, no. So I'm totally different kind of person. So I'm not Gatsby, I'm not Fitzgerald, so I don't drink too much, and my wife is better than Zelda, and so my wife is very sane. So yeah. You know, when I was young, so in my 20s, so I published a very weird magazine. So we the special features of the magazine is about the drug and the right not to walk, the right not to vote, something so very strange and the dangerous topics in 1990s in Korea. So yeah, at that time, so I imagined that kind of life, drink too much and some drug things and the punky life, but not now. So I just want to walk. I just want to live long and
I was wondering, you mentioned working in the film industry, and I wondered how much of your writing is influenced by film, and if there are certain directors that you admire. I know a lot of writers say you shouldn't be influenced by film, that you should just be influenced by other writers, but I wondered your take on that. And my second question is, when you have an idea for a story, do you usually start with an image or do you start with voice? So, like film, do you see a story play out visually in your head, or do you hear the voice of the narrator?
I work with the film industry, the people, the directors, and but I don't think they influenced my works and the style of novel, but instead, I could focus the differences between the film script and the novels. And but one thing I learned from the film industry is a kind of economy of writing. So they had to squeeze the story into 2 hours and almost 2 hours and a half. So so one thing I learned from them is the economy of writing, but so I found more the differences between the film industry, the film scripts and other things and novels. So once Paul Auster is said the movie is a two-dimensional media, and the novel is the literature. I mean, the literature is a three-dimensional media. So the film is basically an imaging. It's on the wall. But so reading novel means we are entering into the world, and we can feel the three-dimensional life of the new world and the characters, and we can imagine our own image of characters. But the film just throw the image on the wall. So Yeah, that is what I learned from the film industry. So I totally agree with the Paul Auster's the thought about the difference. So your second question is.
Do you normally start with images?
I start from mainly from the images, the visual things, not the voice. But the one image and one character and one. That's my way of walking.
Time for one more?
So last question.
So I'm sorry if you didn't get a chance to ask your question.
You said after you entered the University, you found out that business administration was not for you, so you just decided to be a writer. So I'd like to know if you get any formal education in writing before you become a writer, because I would like to know whether you think a writer needs an formal education or not, and if you hadn't received much education, where do you think your artistic gift come from?
Yes. So one really good thing of literature, or writing the literary, pieces, is we don't need much education. That's really good things of literature. So if you want to be a dancer, or if you want to be some musician, so you need some training or discipline, blah blah blah. But I don't think in writing there is no need of long and big and huge discipline. So I don't know exactly what makes a person a writer or make him or her writing the novels and the short stories. But I met many really good writers who didn't do many education. So there are so many creative writing courses in Korea or in the United States and other countries, but also there are many good writers who do not study the creative writings, and that's really good thing with literature.
Okay, that's all we have time for today. So thank you all for coming by.